It was as if a cold shiver ran through Nathan Moore, a 32-year-old psychologist, before he even caught sight of the place when he inherited Ashwick Estate upon his estranged sister's untimely death. The house sat on the outskirts of a dying town in Vermont, where fog hung over the hills all year round, and residents shunned even mentioning its name in their presence. Nathan hadn't heard from Eleanor in nearly 10 years. She'd gone off the deep end after their parents died in a car accident, obsessing over the occult, possession, and this thing she spoke of as the mourning room. He'd assumed it was part of her collapse, her mourning, her descent. Now he'd inherited it all: the creaky Victorian house, her scattered research, her spooky artwork, and the locked-up attic room. The door Eleanor instructed him never to open. The first night, the house was conscious. Nathan couldn't sleep. Every hour the temperature fell. He heard footsteps walking above, even though the attic was locked up tight. Then the voices, whispers, pleas, sobs. "He won't leave us. Don't listen to him. You're already here." He searched each room. Nothing. But when he went by the attic stairs for the second time, he felt something strange. The big padlock was warm to the touch, like a pounding heart. The next morning, he saw scratches on his bedroom wall. Not claw marks, words. "Mourning is worship." He attempted to laugh it off, attribute it to stress, hallucinations, until he looked at Eleanor's journals. Eleanor's diary wasn't a diary, it was a fall. She described something that came after she tried to call up their dead parents. It didn't come from hell, not the one written about in scriptures anyway. It came from inside grief itself. "It found me grieving. It used mother's voice. It said it could keep them near forever." She christened it Sorellum, the reverse light, a demon that gorges on grief by impersonating the dead, and it asked for an altar. The attic has become the mourning room. It listens when I cry. It whispers when I sleep. It shows me things, futures where I never lost them. All it asks in return is memory. Nathan can never be here. If he is, it will exhaust me to reach him. That evening, Nathan dreamed, his sister's voice singing an old lullaby their mother used to hum. When he woke up, someone had tucked him into bed. He lived alone. The night the padlock dropped wasn't like the others. Nathan woke up at 3:12 a.m., the same hour every night, to the sound of crying. Not muffled, ghostly tears, but harsh, throaty sorrow. Like someone grieving at a funeral that would never end. He tracked the sound in the darkness, barefoot, without a flashlight. As he stepped onto the attic landing, the noise ceased. Dead silence. The padlock at his feet, intact, warm as flesh. Nathan pushed open the door. There in the mourning room was life. It lived like a being. The atmosphere was heavy, not with dust, but memory. He sensed emotions suspended around him like static. Regret, loneliness, guilt. They did not belong to him, but somehow fit him like a glove. The walls were plastered with photos of individuals Nathan never knew, but their eyes were on him. Their faces were fuzzy. In one picture, though, the face was distinct. Eleanor. She stood next to someone Nathan didn't know. A tall person, faceless, in funeral attire made out of black lace and stitched lips. In the center of the room, a black mirror rested on the floor, leaning against the far wall. But it didn't reflect Nathan. It reflected Eleanor on her knees, eyes closed, lips in prayer. As he leaned in closer, her eyes opened and locked on his through the glass. "He hears you, Nathan," she whispered, tears bleeding black from her eyes. "But it's not too late. If you let him in." Suddenly, hands pressed against the glass from inside the mirror. Dozens of them, clawing to get out, pushing the surface outward like plastic. The room filled with the smell of burnt flesh and old roses. Nathan turned to run, but the door was gone. Only wall. When he turned back, the mirror showed his childhood bedroom, and his sister, 10 years old, standing in the corner, smiling. As soon as Nathan left the attic, That is, as soon as he was permitted to leave, he was different. He no longer had a distinct reflection. All mirrors warped his face, stretched out mouth, sunken eyes, teeth slightly too pointed. He began dreaming Eleanor's dreams. He woke up crying, grieving parents he couldn't recall. And slowly his recollections changed. Were they ever in that wreck? Had they even perished? He began talking out loud without knowing it, stretching outlandish words in extinct tongues, and in his mind a second voice began to make itself heard. No longer a whisper, but a friend, an acquaintance, soothing. "I can make it stop. Let me help you remember." And then the mirrors began to talk. Not always in English, sometimes in tears, sometimes in laughter, sometimes in his mother's voice, and she would ask, "Nathan, are you lonely?" He attempted to call for help. The line never rang. Emails not sent. Doors wouldn't open. The house wasn't a house anymore. It was a womb, and it was remaking him. When Father Grant came, Nathan could hardly lift his eyes. The priest himself was serious-faced, doubtful-looking. He hadn't dealt with hauntings before. But this wasn't a haunting. He stepped into the morning room, looked at the black mirror, and took one step back instantly. "That isn't scrying glass," he breathed. "It's an opening. It's alive." He poured holy water in a circle around the frame, recited in Latin. And for an instant, the mirror hissed. Then the candles flickered out. The floor creaked. And from the mirror, Eleanor emerged. Skin white, eyes vanished, hands oozing black ichor. Nathan screamed. Grant held up his crucifix, but Eleanor merely smiled and walked straight through him. Not past, through. Grant dropped to his knees, shaking. "You let it take root in your sorrow," he wheezed. "You didn't just leave the door open. You invited it in." Nathan observed Grant's face contort with horror, as if seeing his own worst nightmare on repeat. He grabbed at his chest, mouthed a prayer, and fell, eyes wide open. Dead. Nathan discovered blood oozing from the ceiling, words scrawled over the mirror. "Welcome home." He fell to his knees and wept. The mirror rippled. The final revelation. The house revealed everything to him. He saw Eleanor as a child in the attic, praying to reunite with their parents. He saw the day she did the ritual, alone, scared, hearing footsteps that were not hers. He saw himself, not answering her calls, erasing her voicemails, silencing her texts. He beheld Sorellum, not a horned demon, but an amorphous shadow, one that drifted like smoke and spoke in 1,000 threads of remembrance. "Grief is holy," it breathed, "and you have so much to give." Nathan realized the creature didn't devour people the way one would expect. It remade them, turned them into living containers of sorrow. He gazed at the mirror one final time, voicing aloud the recollections he had suppressed. "I left her alone. I left her. I feared her sorrow, and that made me cowardly." The mirror unfolded, not as a door, as an eye. He crossed over. Nathan Moore was never seen again. A real estate agent arrived months afterward to tour the property. What he discovered was an untouched home. Clean, lovely, immaculately maintained. Except the attic lacked a door. No stairway, no lock, just wall. And yet, every evening at 3:12 a.m., a light came on in the highest window. Locals claim if you look closely enough, you'll see a figure standing behind the glass. Sometimes it's Eleanor, sometimes it's Nathan, and occasionally the figure has no face, but always they are weeping.